Most exciting day of the year. Not only is it the first day we can socialise and have a cuddle, but we're on a road trip to Halls to collect the Dahlias.
Mega day trip out to see our Dahlia growing hero, David Hall. And first question is, how did you get them to this so quickly?
How do we get them to this so quickly? We started stock off the heat went on in January, in Propagator nursery. The green growth was there a fortnight later. We were taking cuttings the second week in February, if not before. And then from then on, we're taking roughly 9,000 to 10,000 cuttings every 10 days. So these ones here was stuff that were taken in February that was surplus to what we needed for our orders and then potted up about 3-4 weeks ago.
And next question, how do you get Kilburn Glow to make a tuber?
We don't have a problem with it making a tuber, but we always keep a few pot tubers for that to make sure we don't lose the stock, but we haven't had any issues with it. The problem we do have with Kilburn Glow is that you can take your first batch or two of cuttings from it and it goes to sleep. You don't get quick regrowth on it. So we find we've got to almost have 2 batches so that we can work them in succession, almost replant them and pick them up again, you know, get them to revive. And by that way, we can, from the 20-30 tubers, we've had about 400 plants taken this year. So you can see from that, this is notorious. Some of the water lilies and collarettes notorious for going to bud. So you can see how we've nipped that right back there.
Yeah.
And then potted it up, and then it's come away. You know, perfectly good, strong plant now that could be ready to run up to flowers or be given an extra stop.
Fantastic.
But again, for being potted away there, can't ask for better than that, can you? Yeah.
So why do they go to sleep?
It's unsafe go to sleep. It's sort of more they just
go dormant.
Regrowth. You take a batch of cuttings off them and then you just get tired, get jaded, and they need freshening up again. And Kilburn Glow's notorious for that in comparison to some others. So just by jigging around with it in the trays and resetting it, almost loosening it up from the trays.
So lifting it up, again. Yeah, jiggling it about and replanting it.
Yeah, we get like another crop of like cuttings coming through and it reinvigorates it. But to make sure we've got continuation this year, we've actually had two lots of Kilburn Glow. We're initial stock and another batch, so they were almost staggered. So when one was going, we knew one would get tired, we had another lot like kicking in and reaching the peak. And we used mother stock for it as well a little bit. Or this year we haven't had to rely on that too much.
Fabulous.
But, sort of some of these ones here, they're getting a little bit. These is in clover pot bed and compost, potted 3 weeks ago. And you've got a root system
beautiful
like that on them. And a good stock plant that's ready for, already the little laterals are starting to develop, can just be pinched back.
The sanctum.
It is part of the halls in the sanctum, yeah. Greenhouses were built a couple of years after I was born, so these were built 62, 63, which is hence why they're nearly fallen down.
They're gorgeous.
But the humidity levels in here for propagation are so much better. We get different results here, propagation-wise, than they do with Ovington, which are modern aluminium houses.
Oh.
It's strange.
So what temperature have you got in here?
Blooming hot this morning because I haven't got any vents in it. This had to get covered with polythene because we couldn't get the glass back in. There's too many rotten bits of wood.
Fabulous!
So enter at your peril.
You might get a sweat on in here, chaps.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
No coat required.
No, as long as you're obviously all together, so as long as I'm keeping you awake, because it will steam up as soon as you get in here, so you can take your mask off.
Well, thank you.
Concerned, okay?
Thank you.
And I'll just make sure I keep my distance from you. You'll see what I mean. Oh, gosh. So these are some of the Hadrian seedlings. We've got Hadrian's glowing embers here. Not the perfect flower early on, but
gorgeous.
You can see there. But we've also got Hadrian's summer wine, which is a rich, summer wine, like a red wine, and Hadrian's bubblegum, which is a bright pink one, which sadly there's no flowers on that at the minute. That's Hadrian Sunset, so you've got like a little flower buried in there on that one. Not a very good one. And some David Howard was potted up.
This has got gorgeous leaves, absolutely beautiful leaves. There should be a foliage class, actually.
Yeah, even David Brown reckoned Hadrian Sunset was one of the darkest and best dark-leaved dahlias he'd seen.
I have to say I've got some that have still got about 23rd of March and still haven't shown sign, and at that point I think you've had your chance, you're off in bin.
No, I'll show you in more detail. I'll take you into the prop house where I've got all these cursed dahlias that decide not to play ball with me.
Look at you! You're gorgeous!
So, in some cases, what we use is fairly Heath Robinson, because this is an old greenhouse and we can't fit all the modern stuff in it. But saying that, this is where we do a lot of the propagation here at Heddon for the dahlias. So this is my prop house. So we've got heated benches run the full length.
Right.
Propagator down the side there, again heated.
And what temperature are you?
We're keeping the basal temperature in there about 19 Celsius. Same on these ones. Okay. That's got stock tubers on there of either varieties that we struggle with. So for instance, all the Aggie White, Winterfell, Rycroft Gold, Tracey Diane, we've kept here this year rather than we'd normally send all the stock up to Ovington. So we've kept them here this year, to allow us to basically just go and graze over them every chance we get to see some cuttings. It's when we've got 290 varieties, it's quite hard to actually give attention to some varieties in particular where we might be short, whereas by keeping those problematic ones here, I've got a chance where one of the lads can just concentrate on grazing at them.
Very good.
We've had lights running on those.
How many hours a day do you have the lights
we're
running?
making the days just over like 12 and a half hours, so they were coming on at like 4 and going off at 8 or 9. So we're making sure in the winter that we're getting at least 12 hours lighting.
Brilliant.
On a timer.
It's gorgeous
and
in here.
they give us enough light for what we need to do. You can see how green they are. And what I mentioned before about the propagating differences between sometimes here and what we have at Overton, although it changes through the season, the humidity levels in here, probably because we've got it sealed up, probably because of the shape of it, probably because they're 2 foot by 2 foot panes on a wooden frame, there's not as much light transmission in here as there are in what aluminium houses at Ovington. These are north-south, Ovington's are east-west, for the eaves. Okay, so they get a lot more light levels. We still need shading in here, but what's on this bench now is some of the problem varieties, as in they don't play ball. Right, they were taken 3 weeks ago. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooted. Some not rooted yet.
And what's the trait of Minley that makes that happen?
I wish I knew. I wish I could identify it. The tubers were only set away 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, so they were dry, dormant.
Wow.
Right? And that, if you can see the bottom there,
yeah,
that's in Melcourt peat-free compost.
Fantastic, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
So that's nearly all wood chip then?
Nearly all wood chip. It's the best peat-free we've used.